I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, August the 1st, brought to you in part by Night Latch Group. That's Andy Cunningham, and he's inviting you to get a hold of him and learn more about gross margin livestock policies where you can hedge your corn and your cattle at the same time with one easy policy there. Night Latch, that means hang on to your investment. For more information, go to nightlatch.net. Also, Beaver County Stockyards, Beaver, Oklahoma, they got about 2,500 head for a good sale here on Tuesday. Got about 15 load lots of yearlings. About 9 of those will be 750 to 900 pound yearling steers. About 7 of them will be 7 weight heifers. They've got around 500 calves. A lot of those will be new crop, pretty fancy kind of new crop calves, but it's hot. We'll see how those sell. And then one thing Lane Conkle wanted me to tell is they have several large drafts, like 600 to 800 head, and some of them selling in load lots of yearling stockers. Some cattle that were turned out really light. Got a long ways more to go on the grass, but for whether it was government ground or whatever, they had to get them off of there. They're coming in green off the grass. They've had everything done to them. You could basically just load up on them and take them to grass somewhere else. You can't find those this time of year very often, guys, and they're going to have several of them at Beaver County Stockyards. Go to dvauction.com and check them out. Supply Revelations and Punchy Pics here on today's feeder flash. The supplies of market-ready cattle are probably as tight as they've ever been. I mean, extremely tight. And you think, but the fat cattle market was lower last week. Yeah, we found out on Monday that it was lower because we didn't know of any cattle that sold. The only cattle that sold on a direct basis, negotiated last week, were sold on Friday night. Had a week-long standoff, and the Packers ended up winning again. They have got all and it's not all, there's not that many. Of course, you get into Nebraska and Iowa, there's still a lot of guys that sell negotiated, but the Southern Plains for sure not. But they got them all buffaloed into thinking that they weren't going to buy any cattle off of them. You know, they can continue to dip into their formulas, which are sizable, and get bigger all the time. But eventually they're going to have to come to their milk and come get some negotiated cattle, but they just keep giving them to them. But I had a good friend of mine that's fairly influential in the negotiated trade in the Southern Plains, and he said this $8 discount that we're selling cattle down here is for no other reason than we have no demand down in the Southern Plains. He said cattle just as good. We've got no demand. That's $100 a head. $100 a head, a lot of times of the year, would be a fantastic profit, guys. And if you're selling them $100 a head cheaper in the Southern Plains for no other reason, then there's no demand because of the lack of negotiated trade. It's an epidemic. Texas A&M told us they did a study a year or two back and said that by 2025 there would be net zero negotiated trade in the Texas feedlot areas. They were right, except it came a hell of a lot earlier than what we thought. They sold 1,300 head negotiated cash last week in Texas. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's just mind-numbing to me because it doesn't seem that long ago. In the mid-90s, I was working for USDA in the Amarillo Market News office, and we were collecting sales on 100,000 head of negotiated fed cattle sales every week in the Texas Panhandle, and now it's 1,300. And then all the cattle that are sold are going to be based roughly off those 1,300 on what they brought. It's unbelievable. And if you guys are tired of hearing me talk about the problem with the lack of negotiated feedlot sales, it's not going to quit anytime soon. The Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act, which we tried to push through, and I say we, U.S. Cattlemen's Association and different partners, some of the state affiliates that are even with National Corporate Beef Association even came on and tried to get it pushed through. But Texas Cattle Feeders, Kansas Livestock Association, NCBA, National Corporate Beef Association, and all of their partners, the ones in the southeast that don't know any better, Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, which are supposed to represent the cow-calf producers in Texas, they all pushed against Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. What would it have done? Well, they would have had to sold more cattle negotiated in Texas last week, and to do that, they would have had to got aggressive, and I say they, the packers would have had to have got aggressive and raised the market. That's why they're all against it. That's why all the corporate lovers are against it. They don't want the packers to have to get in there and compete against each other for fat cattle. They only sold 6,700 in Kansas. Likely they would have had to have tried a little harder to get that, even though those levels were low that we were going to set with Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. And nobody wanted any kind of level set. They just want to let it go to plumb to nothing. And you think, well, is that bill dead? No, it's not dead. It's got 20 co-signers on that bill in the Senate. 20 of them, about 10 Republicans and about 10 Democrats. And there might be 25 up to now. There's a lot of people on there signed on to that bill, but they won't put it on the floor unless they know that it's going to pass. And we've still got significant people pushing back. You've got people that have big positions on the ag committees and things that are in states like Arkansas. Well, if you're in a state like Arkansas, you know damn well that the big dogs that run that state in the food business are going to tell you which way to vote, and they have absolutely done that. Our politics are so corrupt. If you look at our politicians now, we got politicians. And I love Trump, but they keep charging him with stuff. I don't know. There's got to be something to it there. But you look at all the other sides, and then the senators and things. I don't even know people that have all the charges against them as the people that are supposed to be leading this country. They're all on the take. They're all rich, and those jobs don't pay very much. Where does the money come from? Why does Mr. Magoo have 4 houses? He's got a $6 million house right on the beach there. If he hasn't made more than $300,000 or $400,000 a year, how can he afford something like that? And I think President Truman was credited with saying it. Might not have been in so many words, but there's no money in politics unless you're crooked. And I think the bulk of our political leaders are crooked. And when it comes down to trying to get legislations and things to fix our industries, we're just a slave to them. You've got monster food companies and protein providers that are in the pocket, that have those politicians in their pocket that lead the ag committees and things like that. How are you going to get around it? You can't. You absolutely can't get around it. So we basically have lost negotiated trade in Texas. Kansas is not a hell of a lot bigger. What I think is actually going to happen is I think the northern part of Kansas will go on and throw in with the northern plains, Iowa and Nebraska trade. They'll continue to have negotiated trade up there for several more years, but it'll start bleeding off. Whenever we hit the next down dip in the market, we're going to lose a lot more farmer feeders, and then that's going to get more concentrated. And then eventually there will be no such thing as negotiated trade on fed cattle. What's the price going to be? Who knows? What's the price of hogs right now? Who cares? Nobody raises hogs anymore unless you're raising them for some kind of a contract, or you're raising show pigs. They took that industry away from us many years ago. They're going to take this industry away from us, and you guys that are raising calves and selling them, or you guys that are buying calves, growing them, and selling yearlings, you think, well, that doesn't have anything to do with me. You just wait. When there's fewer players above your head, that's going to be fewer bidders on your cattle, and it's going to trickle plumb down to where, we fill one of our big sale barns or one of our big video sales full of cattle, and there's only 2 or 3 guys bidding against each other. How long is it going to take for them to collude like our 4 packers have, and just eventually take all individuals out of cattle production? And I've been telling you, and I'm telling you, I told you so right now. And you guys in Texas might get tired of me talking about you, but you've made that bed, you've shit your nest, and you've got to live with it. And who knows what the fat cattle market is in Texas? Is it really $8 less than the exact same cattle that are in Nebraska? When you're having to pay more for feed, and it doesn't seem fair, and it's sad that we're losing an industry there. But nobody wanted to fight for it, and so when you don't stand up for something, you don't try to fight for something. That's what happens. Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri, is going to be having a special cow sale, and they've got one big long string of bred heifers going to be on there. But they've started getting some relief from the horrible drought right there in the center part of Missouri, but a lot of guys still having to sell some of their replacement stock or breeding stock, and it's your opportunity there. It's going to be Thursday night, August the 3rd at 6 o'clock p.m. Get on to dvauction.com and check it out. Talk about the board on Monday to start the week. August live cattle futures down 10 cents, 178.05. October down 7 cents at 179.52. Your back months were down 20 to down 70. August feeder cattle were unchanged at 245.60. September up 22 at 249.20. Back months were mostly lower, from down 55 cents to up just 2 cents, but not a whole lot of volatility in your cattle pits on Monday. We should have seen some more gain in the feeder cattle, because new crop December corn was down 17 1/4 cent a bushel at 5.13. New crop November beans down 50 3/4, 13.31 3/4. Kansas City September wheat down 43 1/2. You talk about the volatility on hard red winter wheat. It just takes your head off one way and then another. But settling regular trading on Monday at 8.12 3/4 cent. Weighted average on the meager fat cattle trade on a negotiated basis in the 5-area feeding region last week was 41,400 only, compared to 74,800 the previous week, 61,100 the same week a year ago. And as a whole, your Southern Plains was $1 to $2 lower, from 178 to 179. We didn't know that until Monday, because they sold all the cattle Friday night or Friday late afternoon after the 2 o'clock deadline to put information into mandatory price reporting. But $1 to $2 lower. Northern Plains was $2 lower live, 182 1/2 to 186. There's that big gap. Dress sales were steady to $3 lower in the Northern Plains, from 292 to 295. But as a whole in the 5-area, your price range on live steers and heifers was 178 to 190. That was about $1 lower. Your weighted average on live steers 184.81, down 138. Dressed range from 288 to 295. That was $2 to $5 lower. And your dressed steer weighted average in the 5 areas was 293.63, down 98.91 there. So it was a lower market when our supplies are extremely tight. Yes, box beef cutout values or have hit a lull, but they're still higher than they've ever been for this time of year in the history of the world. So how does that make you think? But anyway, sometimes the packers might have to run pretty tight on margins or in the red to get through the year. They just don't like to do it, and they outsmart us every time we turn our head. Nationwide negotiated sales were 51,500. 27.5% of those are for the 2 to 4 week delivery. Negotiated grid sales 44,400. We keep seeing that get bigger. And I talk to people that maintain ownership of cattle, and they send cattle, and it's mostly southeastern people that send cattle to Texas or southwest Kansas, and they think that they're selling negotiated cash because that's what their feedlot manager tells them. Yeah, we sell them all cash. You know, I got 180 last week. You know, that's the way we sell them. When you're only selling 1,300 in Texas total, hardly anybody's selling negotiated cash, guys. And then they tell me out the next breath that, oh, you know, sometimes we get beat up on the grade, but we do better on the yield and all this kind of stuff. If you're doing all that, you're not selling negotiated cash. You're selling negotiated grid, but there's no negotiation on the base price. The only time we ever see negotiation on the base price of a negotiated grid is on the beef on dairy, on the Fed Cattle Exchange. They sell some cattle, bid the grid, and they bid the base price grid, and the packers love those beef on dairy cattle there, and they'll give $1 or $2 premium for them. Forward contracting is light last week, 13,900, and formula sales 271,800 head based on the meager trade, and I'm not even sure where they go whenever they don't have any trade at all, like they did last week in Texas, to find a base price. But everybody seems tickled to death with it, so we'll just continue to let that happen until this industry has completely gone down the drain. Of the sales we did see, of the 4 out of 5 regions we get information from, what about Colorado? Who knows what goes on in Colorado? We don't get to see that at all. And soon it's going to be Texas, then it will be Kansas, and then it's going to eat up the rest of it, guys. But last week, Iowa sold 18,200 negotiated, which is light. Nebraska sold 15,200, light. Kansas sold 6,700, light. And Texas, 1,300. Box beef cutout values, basically steady to start the week. I think they found a bottom. Choice cuts down 22 cents at 301.78. Selects up 19 cents at 277.73. Your slaughter, 124,000 to start the week. The Punchy Pick contest that we have every month, and the grand prize winner gets the cool swag from Beaver Feed in Beaver, Oklahoma, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, and a whole case of Fair Piece, which everybody should try. That topical product that you put over the calf's muzzle and over their poll, and it calms them down. They go to eating, they don't get as sick, guys. But the Punchy Pick winners are going to be announced today. We actually should have done it on our last feeder flash, but we didn't get it all put together. But third place is going to be Joycelyn and Madeline Vega. I believe that's the way they pronounce that word. But they're from Strathcona, Minnesota. And they were clipping on some steers. Normally wouldn't put a Punchy Pick in on clipping steers, show steers, but I don't know, kind of punchy there. They had worked all afternoon clipping and washing and blowing and getting this white steer looking just absolutely perfect. Her dad was not about to do it again, so he just took it in his hand and got rid of it right there. So you got to be pretty punchy to do that. How about second place? Janet King and Noel King. They were checking cattle near Lebanon, Missouri. Had a baby calf that seems to have moseyed under the hot wire there to go down and cool off in that dry pond there, but got down in there, got stuck in the mud, and they had to get down in there and get him out, which doesn't look like an easy task. That was second place. But the winner of all the grand prize here is, I guess it's Ryan Price, because this is Ryan Price in the picture. He's from Taylorsville, California, Northern California, but the picture was actually entered by my friend Glenn Benjamin from Simla, Colorado. Now, I don't know if Glenn is going to take the prizes or he's going to let Ryan take the prizes. We'll have to get a hold of him and find out. But this is pretty cowboy tough picture right here. Apparently Ryan had roped a coyote and then got him by the nape of the neck up there. Ain't scared if you look at him, but it's a great pick. I mean, all the way down to the tall crown on that cowboy hat. That good looking gray horse that looks like he's posing for the picture, and the background. Just all around, we thought that was a pretty punchy pick there, and it is the winner for last month's Punchy Pick contest. Start sending us your Punchy Picks to Punchy at nationalbeefwire.com to get ready for next month. Talk about our feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction. Late in the day on Monday, sitting at 245.42. That was up another $1.19. It just keeps crawling higher. You want an opportunity to buy some yearlings outside the normal realm? How about one of our newest sale barns on that has big board sales? Going to be on video with DV Auction here on Tuesday. But Alabama Livestock Auction in Uniontown, Alabama. They've got 125 loads for their board sale. 89 loads of yearlings, 31 loads of weaned calves, all weaned over 60 days, and 2 rounds of shots, and then 5 loads of ballers. It's going to be today, August the 1st, 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. The Seeley family right there in Uniontown, they're good people. And get on dvauction.com, get a hold of them, get approved, and bid on that sale. Also, Mid-Atlantic cattle sales from out in North Carolina. They've got a sale on DV Auction. It'll be later on in the day at 1 o'clock Eastern or noontime Central there. They've got 37 loads and a lot of nice cattle and a lot of program cattle. If you guys are looking for program cattle, they've got cattle, got the gap and everything out there existing in North Carolina, South Carolina, and some over in Georgia there, and the quality is outstanding. Be sure and check them out. Coming up tomorrow on Wednesday, Elite Livestock Sales. My buddies from the old Montgomery Stockyards got their 43rd annual Producers Calf Sale, and they're going to have a lot of cattle on that deal too, and I'll give you some more details about it on tomorrow's visit. But that is going to be an evening sale at 6 o'clock Central or 7 o'clock Eastern, so be sure and check that sale out, and all those cattle will be ready to go for you. But how about your big sales on Monday? Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 4,300 head. Feeder steers were steady. Feeder heifers steady to $2 higher. Steer calves 2 to 4 higher. Heifer calves 3 to 6 higher in this heat. Pretty impressive calf sale there. Included in that calf offering was a stick out sale that I thought. National Livestock Commission sold 62 steer calves, weighed 422 pounds, bring 329. Thought that was pretty impressive. About Joplin Regional Stockyards there, their steers sold steady to $4 higher, heifers steady to $2 higher. Lighter run for them too, kind of like Oklahoma City, they're less than 5,000. Joplin's going to have a special cow sale on Wednesday at 4:30 in the afternoon. Should have several consignments of good replacement quality cattle or replacement females on there, and that'll be on Wednesday at 4:30. How about our National Beef Wire Stick Out Sale of the day? Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota, 2,500 head there. Feeder steers sold steady to $3 higher, and that's really all they had tested. Check out this automated auction report from Sioux Falls Regional on Cattle Market Central. You see 170 in the 7-weight steer category, average 734, weighted average price 265.90. 370 head of 8 weights, average 882, weighted average price 244.26. And 686 head of 9-weight steers, average 972, weighted average price 235.97. Sioux Falls also had an individual quote, 55 steers weighed 708 at 276. How about Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky? 60 head of steers weighed 843 at 246.50, standing in the ring way out there. But our Macrison, no BS, top quote for the day, indeed came out of Sioux Falls Regional Livestock Market there. DV auction broadcaster. They sell a lot of big warmed up cattle there, and I thought this was an impressive quote. No BS, top quote for the day. 201 head, 1,135 pound near beer steers at 234.75. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.